famous story, friends, and the reason we're sharing it, because this week's Parsha, this Shabbos, the Shabbos Nachamu, the Shabbos of comfort, so called because of the opening words of the Haftarah. Hashem tells the prophet Yeshayahu, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. Be comforted, my people. So this is what this is going to address, is the double expression of be comforted. And it's a famous story, two stories, and ask a number of very strong questions. And then Be'ez Hashem reveal the answer. So let's just read the story together. I'm going to read the bold only because that's the actual translation of the Gemara. It once was that Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Akiva were walking along the road. They were going to Rome. And why were they going? They were going, of course, to deal with the government, to try alleviate the decrees, the taxes, etc. To try on behalf of the situation of their fellow Jews. And they heard the sound of the multitudes of Rome from the city of Puteoli at a distance of 120 mil. They hear the tumult of the city. The city is in celebration, in business, and so on. And the sages began weeping. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Akiva was laughing. They said to him, for what reason are you laughing? And Rabbi Akiva said to them, for what reason are you weeping? They said to him, these Gentiles who bow to false gods and burn incense to idols dwell securely and tranquilly. And for us, the house of the footstool of our God, Beis Mikdash is called God's footstool. There's the throne, and there's the footstool. Beis Mikdash is the footstool. So, for us, the house of the footstool of our God is burnt by fire. Shall we not weep? So before we go further, the question here is, number one, you can understand that the sages asked Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? But why is he asking them, why are you weeping? It's obvious why they're weeping. What's his question? That's one question we're going to answer. Question's clear? Of course they cry. Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. Why are they going to Rome? They're going to Rome because they are the ruling authorities. They're going to try and plead and bribe to alleviate the situation. Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. This is after Tisha B'Av. Of course they're weeping. What's his question to them? Let's see his answer. Rabbi Akiva said to them, that is why I'm laughing. If for those who violate his will, we'll read the commentary because it's important, the wicked, it is so, and they are rewarded for the few good deeds they perform. That's their reward. Look what we're hearing, 120 mil away, the success and tranquility and the celebration and the tumult of Rome. For those who perform his will, all the more so will they be rewarded. End of first story. Are the sages comforted here? No. They heard what he said and they left it at that. They still cry and he's laughing. He's laughing because if that's their reward, imagine how much the reward will be for us. In other words, for the Jewish people and all those who do his will. Gemara continues. Another incident, the same sages. On another occasion, they were sending to Yerushalayim. Again, this is all after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. When they arrived at Harat Seifim, which is Mount Scopus, and they saw the site of the Beis Hamikdash, all of them, they tore their garments in mourning, which is the halacha. Like a mourner tears his garments when you see the place of the Beis Hamikdash destroyed, you have to tear your garments. They keep on approaching the Har Bayis, the Temple Mount. When they arrived at the Temple Mount, they saw a fox that emerged from the site of the Holy of Holies. Again, the sages began weeping and Rabbi Akiva was laughing. They said to him, for what reason are you laughing? Rabbi Akiva said to them, for what reason are you weeping? Again, the same exchange. They said to him, This is the place, the Holy of Holies, which we see the fox come out from, is a place about which the pasuk says, the verse says, and a non-Kohen who approaches this place shall die. Only the Kohen Gadol can go there on Yom Kippur. And now foxes walk in it. Shall we not wait? Before we get to Rabbi Akiva's answer, we have the same question we had before. Why is Rabbi Akiva saying, why are you crying? Of course they're crying. And the question becomes stronger in this case because everybody tore their clothes. They all tore kriya, including Rabbi Akiva. He tore his clothes, and now he's asking them why they're crying. Let's look at his answer. Rabbi Akiva said to them, that's why I'm laughing. Here's his answer. It's written when Hashem revealed the future to the prophet. We'll read the commentary to Yeshayahu. Hashem says to the prophet Yeshayahu, you have to follow this. There's three players here. There's God talking to Yeshayahu, and Hashem is invoking two earlier prophets, Uriah and Zechariah. As he talks to the prophet Yeshayahu about the future redemption. Hashem says, I will take to me faithful witnesses to attest. To attest to what? To the future redemption. Who are the two? Uriah, the Kohen, and Zechariah, the son of Yeverechiyahu. Rabbi Akiva says, why is Hashem taking these two people as his witnesses? They didn't live at the same time. What's the connection between Uriah and Zechariah? And explains the question. Uriah prophesied during the first base of Mikdash, so way before Yeshai, the first base of Mikdash. And Zechariah prophesied during the second base of Mikdash. So why is Hashem saying, I'm taking the two of them as my witnesses? Explained Rabbi Akiva. Rather, the verse was establishing that the fulfillment of the prophecy of Zechariah, who spoke about redemption, is dependent on the fulfillment of the prophecy of Uriah that spoke about the destruction. What did they say? He goes and explains Rabbi Akiva. In the prophecy of Uriah, it is written, therefore, for your sake, Sion shall be plowed over as a field. And it goes on to say, Yerushalayim will become rubble, and the Temple Mount as the high places of a forest where foxes are found. Uriah made that nevuah. What did Zechariah say? The redemption will come, and then there shall yet be elderly men and elderly women sitting in the streets of Yerushalayim in peace and security, and so describing the final redemption. Continues Rabbi Akiva. Until the prophecy of Uriah with regard to the so conclusion, Hashem tells Yeshayahu, these are my two witnesses. The witness of destruction and the witness of redemption. Now Rabbi Akiva said, until the prophecy of Uriah with regard to the destruction of the city was fulfilled, I was afraid that the prophecy of Zechariah would not be fulfilled. Because Hashem links the two to Yeshayahu. Now that we see that the prophecy of Uriah was fulfilled, the foxes are coming out, it's plowed over from a field and it's become like a field. In the Temple Mount as the high places of a forest where foxes are. I see that's now fulfilled. So now, since Hashem linked his to the prophecy of Zechariah, Zechariah will be fulfilled. That's why I'm laughing. Because Zechariah's prophecy that people sit in security, elderly people, young and old, and be in the streets of Jerusalem, Yerushalayim. So that's why I laugh. So when he gave this explanation, the Gemara concludes, the sages said to him, using these words, Akiva, you have comforted us. Akiva, you have comforted us. Akiva nichamtonu, Akiva nichamtonu. The question here is, on this story here, is as follows. Aside from the questions we asked before, why is he asking in both stories, why you're crying, it's obvious why they're crying. We have a very strong question, Rabbi Akiva himself. Rabbi Akiva is saying he was doubt. Excuse me. Rabbi Akiva was saying that till the nevuah of Zechariah was fulfilled, of Uriah, which was the prophecy of destruction, was fulfilled, I was afraid that the prophecy of Zechariah, the prophecy of redemption, wouldn't be fulfilled. How could he have doubted that? We have a principle, friends. Important thing you have to know. There are two kinds of prophecies. A prophecy of doom, of punishment, of destruction. And then there's a prophecy that a prophet could prophesy of blessing and so on. So the halacha is that if it's a prophecy of destruction, it may not happen. And hopefully it will not happen. People will do teshuvah and it won't happen. But if he gives, and that's one of the tests if the prophet is true, if he gives a prophecy of a good thing that's going to happen, and it doesn't, then he's a false prophet. Because a good prophecy is unconditional. A prophecy that is harmful and of destruction or negative could be averted. So if a prophet gives a prophecy that a terrible thing is going to happen and it doesn't mean he's a false navi. Could be that merits and teshuvah and it didn't happen. But if he gives a nevuah, a prophecy of a good thing that will happen, and it didn't, it's one of the signs to test if a prophet is true. So how could Rabbi Akiva doubt? How could Rabbi Akiva doubt that Zechariah's prophecy will be fulfilled? It's a prophecy of redemption that's positive and they're unconditional. He only is convinced now that it's going to happen because the negative one happened. But if the negative one didn't happen, the good one's going to happen. What was the score? How could he doubt it? I was afraid that the good prophecy of Zechariah would not happen. It has to happen. How could you possibly doubt it? So the basic questions we have are three. Why is Rabbi Akiva in both stories, and actually four? Why is Rabbi Akiva in both stories asking why you cry? Question one. Question number two, why are they only comforted with what he said in the second story, not in the first story? Number three, how could Rabbi Akiva doubt the fulfillment of Zechariah's prophecy? And number four, why did the sages, when they were comforted, use a double expression? Akiva nechamtono, and this, of course, story mirrors Nachemu Ami, the double expression of comfort of Daftei. So friends, there's very deep answer and a lot of detail, but we'll give you the essence of the answer. Let's first address the question, Rabbi Akiva, who says to them, why are you weeping? In both stories. What's his question? They ask him why you're laughing. It's a good question. How could you laugh? He's asking why you're crying. The answer is, Rabbi Akiva is asking them, why are you crying now? Now, what happened now? We left Eretz Yisrael to go to Rome because the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. We're under Roman rule, and we have to be mishtadel. We have to try to alleviate the harsh conditions, etc. Nothing has changed. You didn't find out anything you didn't know. If you cry, so cry the whole time. All of a sudden now, 120 miles out of this great city of Puteoli, now you start crying. That's the question. It's not why are you crying, it's why you're crying now, as opposed to earlier. And they answer as follows. Here's the gist of their answer. That there's a churban, that the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. We know this, and we've cried, and we haven't stopped crying. And that Israel, the Jewish people, will fall to a mighty power, Rome. It's a prophecy that Levanon, Lifnei Adir Yipper, Lebanon, referring to the Beis Hamikdash, Levanon, will fall before a mighty one. There's two things that are painful to us now. Number one, so Rome did what it did. Why must it still enjoy prosperity? Why now? So maybe we should destroy it. They were agents of Hashem. It had to happen. It happened. So then why do they still have to be the super mighty power? And moreover, it can be one thing, it can be a strong empire, but to revel and enjoy and have tranquility, no carefree, no worry in the world. 120 miles away, we hear the city is a celebration. That's the pain. Chilul Hashem is what they were saying. This is a desecration of the honor of both the Jewish people and Hashem himself. That they destroyed us. That they're a mighty power, the mighty power. But they have to celebrate and enjoy a carefree, tranquil life while the Beis Hamikdash lies is destroyed. This aspect of it, the insult to injury, this is what they're now seeing. And this is why they're crying. Why must our destruction come with such humiliation? Destroyed, death, but humiliated. I don't have to tell you, the death camps. There were. Some, there were death factories, that was the end of it. And others, where they delighted in humiliating the Jew on his death. This is the new tears. This is the new tears, which they're only hearing now when they're actually going to Rome and hearing the tumult of 120 miles away. What was Rabbi Akiva's first answer? Rabbi Akiva said, well, that's why I'm laughing. Because if this is their reward for the little that they did, once walked an old lady across the road, we did some good. Everybody done some good. And it's so great, their reward. Not just that they're a superpower, but they have no worry in the world and they celebrate. Imagine how great the reward is going to be when our reward comes. In other words, because our humiliation is so deep, how great then is going to be the reward. The sages are not comforted. You know why they're not comforted? Because that doesn't take away the pain now. Rabbi Akiva is about the future. Right now, it says bitter. It's bitter and it's humiliating. And so they respect what he says, but they're not confident. They're not confident. You're telling me the future. But right now, it's deeply humiliating, not just for us, the Jewish people, but the Shekhinah, the Eibishter. This is your house and your people. You are humiliated. And so they did not find comfort. That in the future, the afterlife, in Elam Haba, and Mashiach will come, the reward's going to be so amazing because it was so low now. Then they come to the next story. So let's address now the question we had on Rabbi Akiva. Now, again, the same answer, by the way, to the question, why is he asking them, why you're crying? It's the same story again. It's one thing that they come to the place of the Beis Hamikdash and it's in ruins, it's rubble. Okay. But a fox, they knew exactly, is wandering around, coming out of the place of the Holy of Holies, where a Kohen Gadol, only a Kohen Gadol can go, and the whole world is in awe. And a non-Kohen Gadol, the biggest tzaddik, goes in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you must, and he again hits the humiliation of the Beis Hamikdash. The same thing. When he asked him, why are you crying? His question was, the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. We know this. Why are you crying now as we're approaching the Har HaBayis? They all tore their clothes when they were distant, when they saw from the distance. He also tore his clothes. He did Kriya. Now they get closer. They start crying. Cry then. Cry over. Why now? Because they said, now we're seeing something more than destruction. We're seeing the humiliation. The Chil Hashem. It will be empty and desolate. Okay? But an animal wanders freely where no man ever dares tread. This is what causes the pain. Similar exchange. Now Rabbi Akiva. Them is inspired. Now I'm going to also answer to you this beautiful coming at the end. Why it's Rabbi Akiva and why the sages felt like they did. Who were they? But wait for the end. But Rabbi Akiva is inspired by them. Rabbi Akiva says. He invokes the Hashem talking to Yeshayahu, and Hashem is linking Uriah and the prophecy of Churban and the prophecy of Zechariah, the prophecy of redemption. And he said, I was afraid that if Uriah wouldn't be fulfilled, talks about being plowed over and so on. I was afraid that Zechariah wouldn't. And our question is, how can you be afraid that Zechariah's prophecy wouldn't be fulfilled? Every prophecy is going to be fulfilled. It's unconditional. Answer. Rabbi Akiva said, I didn't know to what extent. I did not know how great Zechariah's prophecy is going to be fulfilled, can be fulfilled basically, or in a very, very deep and rich way. And that's going to depend on how deep was the destruction. When I see that Zechariah's prophecy plowed over like a field and a forest is fulfilled absolutely literally that a fox is walking out. I see that Zechariah's prophecy of doom could have been fulfilled less dramatically and less humiliatingly, but it was fulfilled all the way. He just talks about a field and a forest, but I see it's gone even where a fox comes out of the Holy of Holies. So now we understand that not only will Zechariah's prophecy be fulfilled, but it's going to be fulfilled at the most extraordinary level. And here, the other sages are comforted. Why? Let's understand. What Rabbi Akiva is saying here is, he's invoking the prophecy of a plow. Let's look at a plow for a moment. What does this mean? If you never saw how wheat grows, you don't know the process. You just come to your table, you eat bread, you have no idea. So someone takes you, come watch from the beginning. The first thing you see is someone, it comes from the earth, that much you know. Right? And he's banging the earth. He's breaking the earth. Hello? When you're banging the earth, you're breaking it up. That's a destructive act. Oh, but you don't understand. The deeper you dig into the earth, that's how it's gonna, the deeper, the best secure grain. That the breaking itself is integral to the growth. Oh, here the sage is hearing something. You mean you're not talking about the future? No, says Rabbi Akiva, I can see even here in the destruction, like the metaphor of a plow, that the destruction itself is already now, not tomorrow, in the future, but is already, the Eibishter is already, what in his doing this, he's setting in motion the very process of the redemption, like the plowing of the field is integral to the harvest, or the demolishing of a building is integral to its being rebuilt ever greater. For the first time, they're hearing that in the destruction itself is not just a punishment. And tomorrow will come a great reward. But they're hearing for the first time that in the punishment, it's not just punishment. David is working and making way for the greater good. It's a process that only God knows why it has to be this way. But this is the process, like the plowing of the field, that brings to the harvest. Even though you're breaking up the field, you're striking it and crumbling it, crushing it. So that's what Rabbi Akiva said. I didn't know how deep is going to be the fulfillment of Zechariah's prophecy. And I see how deep that is. That's telling me how high that itself in this is telling me how deep and how high is going to be what's being rebuilt. That's starting now. That's starting now. Hashem is building the Beis HaMikdash for us now, not simply punishing us. This is extraordinary. And this, now they're comforted. Akiva nechamtona. You're not saying one day, where is the Eibishter now? Where's the Chilul Hashem now? Rabbi Akiva says, the Chilul Hashem, it appears that way. But in this Chilul Hashem, it's the Eibishter's greatest love for us. He's plowing this field for the greater yield and harvest. That's what's happening now. So in this, there's some comfort. As we always say, it's the abandonment, it's the biggest pain. Rabbi Akiva is saying that in this punishment of Zechariah, this itself is the process of, in the punishment described by Uriah, in here, I see how it's fulfilled. In here lies the very fulfillment of Zechariah now, at once. The two prophets did at different times, but it's really one, because the redemption is starting now. That's why Hashem tells Yeshayahu, these are my two witnesses. Live for different times, saying different things. No! The destruction itself in there begins the very process of redemption. Therefore, they said Nechamtonu twice. Why? Number one, for what's going to be. And the second, deep in the Chumah, you're telling us what is now. That it's even beginning now. This is the Necham. This is the comfort. Again, the biggest pain is Eibishter. Where were you? Rabbi Akiva says, Kindalach, with us. With us. We cannot see it. And all we're seeing is the striking and the punishment and the humiliation. That on a much truth, he's with us. And that is where they found their comfort. And this will explain who the sages were and why only Rabbi Akiva could see it. Who were the sages? Rabbi Gamliel was the prince, his father, his grandfather. They were the Nasi, they were the leaders of the Jewish people, tzaddikim, born into piety and ancestry and yichus. They were holy Jews. They didn't come from the world of impurity of Rome. They came from the world of holiness and innocence and purity. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was a Kohen. Rabbi Yeshua was a Levi. Rabbi Yeshua was one of the singers in the Beis HaMikdash, of the second Beis HaMikdash. And Rabbi Akiva, his father, was a convert. A Roman convert. Akiva ben Yosef. Rabbi Akiva, as you all know, was ignorant until the age of 40. Not only was he ignorant, he hated Talmidei Chachamim, but killed them if he could with his bare hands. And he became the great Rabbi Akiva. And the Emes says he became the great Rabbi Akiva because, not despite where he came from, because of where he came from. Because of that fueled him and made him to become the great Rabbi Akiva. Because of it. That was the fuel. So he's the one, only here, Rabbi Akiva, could see in the moment of the destruction, the very beginnings and the process and the Eibishter himself of redemption. Because that's his world. That's his deep connection. The other sages, always being in the world of holiness and revelation, could not see themselves. Can only appreciate it as Rabbi Akiva taught it. And therefore they told him, Akiva nechamtonu, Akiva nechamtonu. My dear friends, having said all of this, it's a beautiful explanation. But as the Rebbe would cry, Ad Mosai, all beautiful. But how much longer? If all the explanations we understand, we're comforted on some level, okay. But it's still, Ad Mosai, much longer. So our final request is, it should actually happen. Should actually happen tangibly, and the transformation, all the beautiful things we speak of, we should experience, and all the tears of pain and suffering and loneliness should be transformed into tears of joy and celebration. All right, dear friends.
Amen.